ABC is reporting that special counsel Jack Smith has gotten Donald Trump's communications guru Dan Scavino to testify that he was in the White House on January 6, and that he and several other staffers begged Donald Trump to do something to stop the insurrection, but Trump just sat there with his arms folded, watching his television, refusing to say or do anything until moments later when Trump took to Twitter and blamed Mike Pence for not doing the right thing. Scavino, according to ABC News, is prepared to testify that after being told the Capitol was under siege, Trump's response was basically, let it burn, unquote. ABC also reports that another Trump aide, Nick Luna, is prepared to testify that when he told Trump that Mike Pence had to be moved to a secure location in the middle of the insurrection, Trump responded, so what? More and more reports coming out of the special counsel's office suggest that between Trump's White House chief of staff, Mark Meadows, turning state's evidence, and testimony from several other unindicted co-conspirators, it will be next to impossible for a jury not to convict Donald Trump in Washington, D.C., which might explain why Jack Smith was the victim of a swatting on Sunday night. Police were called to his house after someone called in a phony, anonymous report of a gunman holding people hostage inside Smith's home. This is what's going on. Trump supporters are swatting anybody who goes after Donald Trump. It also explains why over the weekend the presiding judge in that trial, Tanya Chutkan, was also the victim of a swatting. 1/3 of the special counsel's budget is spent on security for Jack Smith, his staff, and witnesses. 1/3 of his budget. More is being spent on round-the-clock protection for Judge Chutkan, as well as potential witnesses, and eventually they'll have to provide security for jurors and the court staff. We know what's going on in Fulton County. We know that Fani Willis and her entire staff has round-the-clock security. This is exactly what fascism looks like. Election workers, members of Congress, prosecutors, judges, jurors, and witnesses are inundated by death threats. And all this fascist pig Donald Trump can say is, you know, if I'm indicted, if I lose the election, if the Supreme Court rules against me, I can't control how my supporters respond. Instead of saying to his supporters, knock it off, he says, Proud Boys, stand back and stand by. Stand by. On the campaign trail, he is now calling the hundreds of January 6ers behind bars hostages. He says he loves them. He says he loves the people who stormed the Capitol. He refers to them now as great patriots. In Iowa over the weekend, Donald Trump said, quote, I call them hostages. Some people call them prisoners. I call them hostages. Release the J6 hostages, Joe Biden. Release them, Joe. You can do it. Real easy, Joe. And it's not just crackpots like Paul Gosar of Arizona or Marjorie Taylor Greene calling them hostages. Elise Stefanik, the Harvard-educated wife of a gun lobbyist, part of the Republican leadership in the House, referred to the people arrested for their role on January 6 as hostages too. On Meet the Press Sunday, she referred to them as hostages. Steve Scalise, the majority leader, can't bring himself to say Joe Biden was legitimately elected. On Face the Nation Sunday, the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, self-righteously took umbrage, was insulted when asked if he was still an election denier. An election denier? Of course I'm not, he said, but then refused to admit that Joe Biden won in 2020. Trump owns the House Republican caucus. So far, according to the New York Times, he has secured endorsements from 100 Republican members of the House. Nikki Haley has 0. Ron DeSantis, who served in the House, only has 5 members endorsing him. One of them is Chip Roy, who, with Ken Buck, was the only member of the Freedom Caucus to certify the election for Joe Biden. So to Chip Roy's credit, he certified the election for Joe Biden in 2020, and he's endorsed Ron DeSantis, who is even worse than Donald Trump.